I was interested with part I of article number 12, where they say a national youth coordinating mechanism shall be set up and shall provide a platform as well as serve as a linking agent for youth organizations to participate in youth policy development, as well as the implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of related youth programs. I was interested in this part of the article because I'm coming from a National Youth Council, which is such a structure, and I wanted to bring to the attention of the Malawian youth that this part of the article might be violated soon, or has been violated if it should stand, that one of the structures might not be there, which I think is important to be there. So it's up to young people to have it or to lose it. It's one of your rights. Article number 13, education and skills development. Of course, we have great people who have just finished college, others are still studying. We have great aspirations. I think young people should study. And the sky should no longer be the limit, but rather their imagination. So young people are encouraged to invest their time in education, to have skills and competencies. Article 14, poverty eradication and socio-economic integration of youth. This article is very important, especially in the sub-Saharan Africa, where about 40% of the population is living below the poverty line, and where a large proportion of that 40% are young people. So the poverty wears a youthful face really, and a special effort must be made to focus on youth and eradicate poverty that is rampant amongst the youth. Article 15, sustainable livelihoods and youth employment. Special effort must be made that when young people finish school, they must not spend 3-4 years at home waiting for an opportunity to happen for them to get employed. I think young people who have the qualifications should be given a chance to go into employment. But oftentimes, when you look at advertisements, you see that they say they're looking for people with 3-5 years experience. Where would the young people fresh from college get the experience? So we should give people, young people a chance, or create an opportunity where young people can acquire experience through internship. I know in Europe, internships are the order of the day, but here, we don't have a control system of internships where young people can acquire experience. So that's an area that the youth must be fighting for. Article 16 is health. I've seen some brochures around here, protect the next generation as one of the healthy components of our youth programs. If the youth indeed are to be there tomorrow, they must live a health lifestyle today. Peace and security. I did highlight this article because young people are done peace jealously, and young people must avoid to be used in situations that can lead into conflict and insecurity. So young people are key to having a peaceful state. There is law enforcement as Article 18. Article 19, sustainable development. Again, if young people are to inherit a sustainable future, we need to practice environmental friendly today, so that young people are not left with an environment that is engendered. So we need to always be cautious. How are we protecting the environment so that we live a good environment for our youth or for our future generation? Article 20, youth and culture. People always say that a people without a culture are a people without their roots. Article 21, youth in diaspora. This article recognize that the young people who are in other countries who have been displaced for various reasons, and they need to be recognized. If they have good skills, if they have good qualifications, they should be offered employment in the countries where they are residing. Article 22, leisure, recreation, sportive and cultural activities. Yes, young people should be studying, but all work makes Jack what? All work makes Jack what? A dull boy. After work, after hard work, let's have time to relax, to enjoy leisure. There are some cultural practices that are harmful. What? In the reality of HIV and AIDS, there are some practices that increase the risk of a person contracting the HIV and AIDS virus. So those cultural practices that are harmful should be eliminated. We should have dialogue, talk with our gatekeepers that these cultural practices are bad and we must be doing something about them. Now they are talking about responsibilities, because a freedom and a right without a responsibility is also counterproductive. Youth shall have the duty to become custodians of their own development, protect, work for family life and cohesion, have full respect for parents and elders, and assist them anytime in cases of need in the context of positive African values. Partake fully in citizenship duties, including voting, decision-making, and governance. Engage in peer-to-peer education to promote youth development in areas such as literacy, use of information and communication technology, HIV/AIDS prevention, violence prevention, and peace building. Protect the environment and conserve nature. Article 27 is formalization of the Charter. And this is where we spend a little bit of time on how we can make the articles within the Charter known. State parties shall have the duty to promote and ensure through teaching, education, and publication the respect of rights, responsibilities, and freedoms contained in the present Charter, and to see to it that these freedoms, rights, and responsibilities, as well as corresponding obligations and duties, are understood. Now, what are the roles of the youth in achieving the African youth freedoms and rights? What is it that young people can do? I think their role could be what? One is that young people should play a central role in popularizing the freedoms and the rights that are in the Charter. The African Youth Charter has to be domesticated and internalized by the population, by everybody. Because once that is done, it will enable people to scream whenever the freedoms and the rights are violated. If we don't know our rights, we cannot know or cannot complain once those rights are being taken away from us. So what we should start doing today is to know what are our rights and what are our responsibilities. And what should we do to have our rights? Because a right is not negotiable. Am I right? A right is not negotiable. People cannot say you have your rights tomorrow. You need your rights today. And as young people, you must demand your rights. Secondly, I also think that young people can play an advocacy. They can also lobby with various government agencies to make sure that they are enjoying all of their rights and all of their freedoms. I want to finish with a quotation from Professor Jacques Rassou, who says, "Man is born free, yet he is in chains." Are you in chains? No. Are you free? chains today, let us be free. Thank you very much for your attention.
And these questions, basically, what role can we play in the promotion of the common good of society in general? What role can each one of us play in the promotion of the common good in the societies where we live? And the follow-up question is, do we have the capacity and the means to do so? I think we need to define society at this point in time, because I don't want us later on to begin to disagree on what we're talking about. I think society is not a vacuum. I'm talking about the village where you live, the district, the town, the city, the family, the country, the youth camp, wherever you are. You know, that's what I mean by society. So we go back to our questions. What role do we, or does each one of us have to play in that society, in that school environment, in that university, in that college, that's going to promote the common good of all the citizens of that society? So we'll keep on going back to this. Remember, we're talking about the role, our role in the promotion of human rights. Now, let's put our discussions in context. Let's not assume that we have a role to play because we are facing no challenges. Because our life is smooth, therefore we can play a role. So I thought, let's go a few steps back and look at the challenges that we encounter, because we have to play our role in that context. So I thought I could quickly run through a few challenges that young people face globally. I think the first challenge is economic. When you look at issues of unemployment, when you look at issues of poverty, everybody trying to get a little money from wherever source they can get it. Some using lawful means, others end up using unlawful means. The motive really is to survive. So do whatever you can to survive. Unfortunately, others are pushed into the wrong corners and end up doing the wrong things. The second challenge is social. When you look at the peer pressure, if you look at the conceptual problems, if you had used Malawi as an example, you know, we changed having lived under a dictatorship for 31 years or so, we changed into a multi-party democracy. And immediately we began to talk about human rights. And therefore the conceptual problem of people believing that human rights meant they could do whatever they wanted, with total disregard to the rights of other people. You find that this is a common challenge the world over. Thirdly, you also notice that there is a challenge of inadequate social support systems. You know, lack of parental guidance, society guidance, religious guidance, etc. And everybody wanting to live their lives the way they want, because the support systems are not there. Another major challenge, I think, globally, which is also accepted, is the quality of education. The sort of education we are getting these days in most of the countries, if not the world over, is inadequate to prepare us for the challenges that are out there in the world. So you end up with your university degree, but fail to fit within the working environment. Another problem is health related. Let's take the good example that is around us, HIV/AIDS. So you find that at this young age we're having to take over responsibilities, or we are affected or infected by HIV/AIDS, and that's the environment we have to work in. Another challenge I don't know whether to call it a challenge or whatever, but it's the energy. You know, this age group has all the energies. You know, if anybody wanted to fight, they will need us. Okay? If anybody wanted to do anything positive, they will need energy, so they will need us. So this has sometimes been a challenge, because as a result of frustration, if you can't get what you want, people easily backtrack into the negative things and then end up destroying themselves and society at large. And finally is the issue of participation. The youth are said to participate in most of the things that happen around them. I'm not quite sure whether this participation is informed, because in most instances it is uninformed participation. So remember I talked about us being tools or implements being used by the old people. There are times when we participate indirectly. So people just come to ask us one or two questions, and then when they make a decision, they will allege that we participated in that decision making. I think which is also a challenge. So we have all these challenges, and yet, remember, I said we are the leaders of today. So there we are leaders, and yet facing a lot of challenges. So are we going to be able to lead? Or what is the solution? Now, basically, my belief is that the solution to all these problems is our active and informed participation in the universal attainment of right to development. And right to development, meaning right to political development, social development, economic development, and even cultural development through promotion of good governance. I also want to emphasize that this development cannot be effective unless it takes place at all levels. So it must happen in our communities, it must happen in our district, it must happen in our country, and it must happen the world over. And so if you are going to have development in one continent only, you have a problem. If in a continent you are only going to have development in one country, you have a problem. If in a country you are going to have development in one village, you have a problem. But basically, we can solve all these problems through promotion of the right to development. Our role within context. And I would want to start by defining one of the most important words, if I may call it that, which is democracy. What is democracy? You know, democracy has been defined in various ways, but there is one definition which is very relevant to what we're discussing here this morning, which is that democracy is a form of political rule characterized by tolerance of minorities, freedom of expression, respect for essential dignity of human individual, and with equal opportunity for each to develop freely to his or her fullest capacity. So, basically, you will see that in that definition, you have strong elements of respect for minorities. Because human rights are about accepting minorities. You will see that there is a strong component of freedom of expression. Human rights are about allowing people to express their views, opinions, etc. You will see that there's an element of human dignity. A human being is a dignified creation. We're different from gods. We're different from plants. We're a dignified creation. Most importantly, there is an element of equal opportunities for each individual to develop to their fullest capacity. So let's make sure that opportunities to develop, opportunities to improve the quality of life, okay, are equal for everybody. So in our countries, do minorities have the same opportunities to develop as everybody else? Do they?
No.
They don't. You will see that there are those that control the cake. They are responsible for deciding who gets what, when, how, and those individuals don't care about the less privileged. What role can the youth play in that environment to make sure that there is equalization of opportunities for everybody? I want to emphasize this because in most African countries, accountability, transparency and accountability is looked at more in terms of financial accountability and financial transparency in managing the financial resources. But I want to say that it's also transparency and accountability for public decision making. And so if you are going to decide that minorities will not enjoy certain rights, we'll make you accountable for that decision. You see what I mean? So we'll not say that there's no money involved, and therefore keep out of this issue now. I also wanted to emphasize that another element is responsibility. Everybody must be responsible. Participation. Every citizen has the right to participate. So everybody must participate. And then finally, it's responsiveness. That those in authority must be responsive to the needs of the people. They must be responsive to the needs of the people. When the people make demands, those in authority must respond to those. There are so many definitions of human rights. But when you look at the theme in all those definitions, it is the wealth and dignity of a human being. Define it the way you want, but you are only talking about the dignity of a human being. That there's need to respect a human being. That a human being is not like any other creature. One example is, for instance, that human rights are rights which every human being has by virtue of being human. So you don't have human rights because you are from Botswana. No. Because you are in Botswana, we call them Botswana. No. You have human rights because you are human. Okay? If you are from Czechoslovakia, you have human rights because you are human. Okay? So every person everything that is human has human rights. And human rights are not given to people by politicians or anybody. You are born with them. Nobody can take them away, they are part of you. So, basically what I'm saying is that human rights are so fundamental to the human being so that without them, it's not possible to be human without human rights. I don't know if I'm making the point.
Yes.
But you can't be human when you don't have human rights. It's so fundamental to your being human. And I think this is one point which many people fail to appreciate. Why are human rights important? I think let's agree. Why are they important? Why is everybody talking about human rights? I think I can give about three or four reasons. The first reason is that human rights assist in the equalization of opportunities. Remember my definition of democracy? So human rights, help in the equalization of opportunities. The second type of duty is to protect. Protecting means make sure that other people's rights are not being violated. If they are, do something to protect those rights. The third responsibility is to promote. Make sure that everybody is enjoying their rights. Promoting will include, my colleague from the Youth Council talked about educating other people about their rights. That's one way of promoting. And then finally, is the duty to provide. What is it that we can do to make sure that people are enjoying their rights in our countries, in our village, in our town, in our city? Great. The first responsibility I want to suggest, agree with me or disagree with me, is that we are under a responsibility to fight bad governance, okay, and violation of human rights. fight not in terms of taking arms. I wouldn't want people to go and buy AK-47s, to fight human rights violations. But basically what I'm saying is we should not accept that anybody should violate, in the first instance, our rights. Each one of us should not accept anybody to violate their rights. Thirdly, it's also our responsibility to promote knowledge of and respect for human rights. So basically, it's our responsibility to make sure that everybody in our country, everybody in our societies is aware of human rights. Teach where necessary. Okay? But also encourage respect for human rights. You can find a way of respect by talking to your neighbor who is violating his wife's rights. Domestic violence, let's take domestic violence as an example. So if your neighbor every day beats his wife, or your neighbor every day beats her husband, okay, it's our responsibility to go and talk to them, educate them about the rights of this individual and what should be done to make sure that those rights are being enjoyed. In our life, we are carrying out an assessment of what sort of human rights challenges or problems exist in our societies. What human rights challenges do we have in our society? Do an analysis, why do we have these challenges? And then make a decision what needs to be done to make sure that these rights are enjoyed. And so, for instance, if the problem is maternal mortality, so basically to say that the action that you take to address the problems must be based on the analysis. Now, what sort of actions can the youth take to make sure that people enjoy their rights? I think having done the analysis, one possible action that you can take is to dialogue with the duty bearer. If you are having a problem with the police, go and dialogue with the officer in charge of the police establishment. If you are having problems with nurses, go and dialogue with the head of the health facility. Dialoguing in terms of explaining to them how your rights are being violated. Remember, talk the rights language. Don't go and say, your nurses are rude. Full stop. Can you stop them from being rude? No. Go and tell them that your nurses are violating our human rights. From the presentation that I've done, I wanted us to agree on a few issues. I think the discussion clearly shows that young people have a critical role to play to ensure good governance and enjoyment of human rights by all. Get me right? I'm not saying enjoyment of human rights by tall people, by short people, by one tribe, by one ethnic group, but for all, universal enjoyment of the rights. And they can do this by ensuring that everybody enjoys their right to development, that public services are delivered in a manner that is compliant with human rights principles, that every human being is enjoying the public services that are being given and nobody is being discriminated, for instance. Hence, in my view, the young people should tirelessly struggle to ensure that the following are happening. One, that all people are enjoying their rights. Secondly, I would also want to emphasize that it's our responsibility to ensure that public service delivery treats people as human rights, as human beings that have rights. So let's make sure that the public service delivery is done in such a way that it acknowledges the fact that these are human rights and everybody must enjoy them. Actually, in African hospitals, if you ask a doctor, if he prescribed a drug for you, and you asked why, or you told him you don't like this drug, you want another drug, instead of simply explaining to you why he thinks this is the best drug, he will shout at you. Do you think that you know better than him? He went to training for 5 years and stuff like that. I also thought that it is important that we make sure that all structural inequalities in our societies are addressed. Structural inequalities in terms of certain groups of people enjoying more their rights. I think there's a more rights than others. But the reality is that everybody has equal rights. And so let's make sure that there are no structural inequalities. Friends from Botswana, let Baswara, we call them Baswara, is it? Baswara. Enjoy the same rights as everyone else. Let's not begin to say because you are a Baswara, therefore, you don't need education, you don't need health facilities, you don't need, no. Let those structural inequalities be demolished, and it's our responsibility to do that. And I thought that I should end by calling on everybody of us to make sure that human interactions, all sorts of human interactions, are guided by human rights principles. All human rights interactions are guided by human rights principles in terms of, remember, non-discrimination, human dignity. Let's not have human interactions that don't respect other people. Are we all committed to this new commitment? Yeah. Silence. Where silence means we don't agree. Friends from Portugal, do you agree with this new commitment? Portugal, where are you? Yes. Do you agree?
I agree.
Yes.
Denmark?
Yes.
Where are you? You agree? Botswana?
Yes.
Where are you?
Yes.
You agree?
Yes.
Malawi? Where are you?
Yes.
Do you agree with this new commitment?
Yes.
Great. So I believe that we will all work towards this new commitment. We must feel bad when somebody else is not enjoying their rights or their rights are being violated.
Kaya ni kusukulu wa kujidakaze we, wela. Kaya ni kusiwela kujidakaze Charter, mainly we are focusing on why it's important for our country to sign and ratify the African Youth Charter, but also the role that we young people can play in making the African Charter known to our fellow young people, but also other people in the communities who can offer us support. We feel that the African Youth Charter is important to the Malawian youths because it makes a provision that is crucial to our development, empowerment, protection, and guidance through the various articles that are stipulated in the African Youth Charter. Therefore, it's important for our country and our leadership to sign the African Youth Charter and have it ratified. For example, Article 11 empowers us young people to participate in all spheres of the society, where currently I feel that most young people, we are involved in different spheres of the society, but maybe in small numbers. We are not actively participating in our large numbers.